Hi, welcome to my video on the subtraction of integers. Subtraction of integers. The opposite of an integer can be written as the negative of the integer. Examples: the opposite of a plus 4 is the negative of a plus 4. The opposite of a negative 3 is the negative of a minus 3. And negative of a plus 10. The opposite is the negative of negative 16. Pause and write out your answers to see if you're right. Press play. Negative of negative 9. The negative of plus 12. The negative of negative 31. The negative of positive 47. So by putting a negative in the front of each of these, you are doing the opposite. When subtracting an integer, you add on the opposite. You'll hear me say that over and over and over, even when I go to the section on polynomials. When you subtract, you always add on the opposite. An example: A, when you subtract, you add on the opposite. 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 So notice the negative sign is changed to a positive, and you change the plus to a minus. The negative sign is changed to a plus, and the negative is changed to a positive. The negative sign is changed to a positive because you add on the opposite of plus 10 is minus 10. The negative of a negative 16 is you add on the opposite, which is negative 16. So you change the subtraction sign, the negative sign, to a plus, and you get the opposite of the one in the bracket. Practice these to see if you're going to get them right. So you add on, the negative of a negative 9 is add on positive 9. The negative of a plus 12 is add on minus 12. Add on plus 31. Add on minus 47. So notice I changed the negative to a positive, and I got the opposite of the one in the brackets. Opposite plus 9. Opposite plus 31. Opposite minus 12. Opposite minus 47. And the rule: when subtracting an integer, add on the opposite. Add on the opposite. Okay. What's the rule? When subtracting an integer, when you're subtracting integers, add on the opposites. Opposite or opposites. Examples: just add on the opposite. Don't want you to work them out. Just add on the opposite. So that's a negative 2. Subtracting. So I'm going to add on the opposite. Change the subtraction to a positive and do the opposite. Plus 4. When you subtract, you add on the opposite. Plus 2. When you subtract, you add on the opposite of negative 8. Plus 8. When you subtract, you add on the opposite, which is negative 9. When you subtract, you add on the opposite, which is negative 7. And positive 33, when you subtract, you add on the opposite, plus 11. So notice the minus sign becomes a plus, and you get the opposite. The minus sign becomes a plus because you're adding on the opposite. You're adding on the opposite. Practice these 6. Press pause and work them out. Positive 6, add on. Positive 2. Negative 6, add on. Negative 7. Negative 14, add on. Positive 10. Plus 19, add on. Negative 9. Negative 49, add on. Positive 9. Positive 1, add on. Negative 21. Again, you're changing your subtraction to an addition and adding on the opposite. The rules for subtracting integers: add on the opposite. when you do that, you follow the addition rules. So very easy. So you add on the opposite, and then you follow your addition rules, which is add two positives, add them up, take a positive. Add two negatives, you add them up and take a negative. If you add a positive and negative, you subtract them and take the sign, which has the larger absolute value, or the one that has the more of. Here we go. Positive 6. Add on negative 1. And you got a positive 6, negative 1, different signs, subtract, you get a 5, but there's more pluses. Positive 7, add on positive 2. When you subtract, you add on the opposite. Positive 2, positive 7, add them up and take a positive. When you subtract, you add on the opposite, which is negative 3. You got two negatives, add them up and take a negative. When you subtract, you add on the opposite. And negative 20 and 8 is subtract, you get a 12, but there's more negatives. The negative 20 got larger absolute value, so there's more negatives there. Positive 31, add on negative 50. They're different signs, so you subtract, you get a 19, and there's more negatives. And negative 42, add on positive 62. You got to subtract them, you get a 20, and there's a positive. Add on the opposite, very important when you subtract, all the time in math, all the time. Now, we have the last page, page 404. What's the rules for subtracting? Add on the opposite, or opposites, whatever you want, and use your addition rule, or addition, whatever your addition rule is. Here we go. Pause your video, work all these out, and press play again to see if you have them all right, to see what you have. So positive 8, add on positive 3. Add them up, 11 as a plus. Negative 13, add on negative 2. There are two negatives, so you add them up to get 15 and take a negative. Add on positive 7. There are different signs, so you subtract to get a 5, and there's more pluses. Positive 14, add on negative 18. Different signs, subtract, you get a 4, but there's more negatives. Add on negative 10. Add on the opposite. And that two signs are the same, so you add them up to get 36, it's a negative. Negative 40, add on opposite, negative 10. That add them up, it gets 50, and you take a negative. Positive 39, when you subtract, you add on the opposite of negative 20 is plus 20. Two pluses, so you get a 59 positive. And a positive 11, when you subtract, you add on the opposite, negative 20. Different signs, so subtract, you get a 9, but there's more negatives. When you subtract, you add on the opposite, positive 69. Different signs, subtract, you get a 19, and you get a positive because there's more pluses. Positive 17, when you subtract, you add on the opposite of negative 15, which is 15. Same signs, so you add them up, you get 32, and it's positive. So that's subtraction of integers. If you like the video, if you like the video, click on the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, write a comment, and if you want, you may visit my math website at www.mathfullyexplained.com. Information about me, my degrees and teaching experience, information on next section on the videos, tells me, informing you what strategies I'm going to help you learn your math, makes it easier. And the section on content has the topics or the units, number of videos in each of those topics. And the black font is what's already completed and online. And the red font is what I will do in the near future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.